Hi everyone, my name is Trent Milam. I am the 2020-2021 AmeriCorps member Water Quality Resources Assistant at GMCG, and we're here on Experimentation Station. Today we're going to be talking about doing a landfill in a bottle experiment, and this one's actually going to happen over time a little bit. So we're going to have to do some things here and then continue to come back to our bottle and look at it over the course of time to see what happens with different materials. So this experiment is also in connection with our Less Plastics initiative for GMCG, which began in 2016. Started with a couple of high schools and doing educational programs. And so we're trying to do more things like this to educate ourselves, and the community, you guys, about how to reduce plastic waste, use less plastic, use our materials smarter. So that's kind of what this experiment is going to be focused on. Okay, so all you're going to need for this experiment is just a couple of things. Some sort of plastic bottle. I have an old lab container here, but really all you would need is like a 2-liter soda bottle or something like that. Just make sure whatever you use, you cut off the neck part of it so you have more of a wider mouth to work with. You're going to need eventually some sort of spray bottle or water mister or something like that you have at home. And then other than that, really all you need is just a few different materials. With these, you want to make sure that you're using things that are made up of different substances. So I have here an old apple core from an apple I ate about a week ago probably. We've got a plastic flamingo here, you can see. A little piece of paper that we're going to use as well. And then this is also a different kind of material, casein plastic here. And then a plastic bag as well. So what we're going to do is basically bury these items and just see how they degrade over time in our landfill in a bottle here. So if you want to come over here with me, I'll show you just how I'm going to bury these things. So I have a little bit of dirt. Oh, and of course, you will also need dirt. You can get that from your yard or garden or anything like that. Just don't use dirt from a bag that you bought. So I have a little bit here in the bottom, and I'm just going to start burying some of these items. I'm going to start here with the little flamingo. He's going to go in the bottom here. All right, so we have our landfill in a bottle, and basically at this point we're just going to be checking it over time. So I'll probably come back every week or so. I encourage you as well at home to check in on it every week. Maybe dig around a little bit, see how everything's going. Like I said, make sure to keep that soil moist, keep it in some sunlit areas, and then we'll just kind of be checking in on it. And in the meantime, I want you guys to think at home as we're doing this experiment, why are we doing this, right? So think about the materials that you put into your landfill. Which one do you think will degrade the most? Which one do you think will not degrade? And also I want you to think about just your own usage of materials. So how much do you use? How much waste do you produce in one day or maybe a week? How much plastic do you use? Think about ways that you can actually reduce that plastic use. One of the simple ways is just having a reusable water bottle or using reusable bags in the grocery store. So just start to think about that, and as we see these materials kind of change over time, we'll be able to look at actual properties as to why they're either bad waste products for the earth, or whether the earth can sort of handle them well, which makes things biodegradable. So we'll definitely take a look at that. Okay, so we're back here with the landfill in a bottle experiment. It's been about 3 weeks since we had put our materials into our landfill, and we've actually now dumped the soil out and looked at our materials. So we're going to show you what we found after only 3 weeks of our materials here in the soil. So what we can see pretty clearly is this plastic Ziploc bag has really not changed at all. In fact, no part of it has been degraded at all. Pretty much the same here with this little piece of paper. We do expect this to degrade in the soil at some point, but obviously it has not had enough time left. And then we look at the little plastic flamingo, also the same, no degradation at all. It's exactly the same as we put it in there. However, if we look at our apple core, this is actually pretty much all we have left of it. It's covered in dirt there, but we just have sort of a little piece here at the top and a thin piece here as well. So clearly that the soil has worked on the apple core over the last few weeks. And probably our most interesting one here is the casein plastic that we put in there. You can see there, we put in a green Christmas tree shaped object that was made out of the plastic, and it's pretty much in the process of being degraded. It's kind of a liquidy substance now, and it's almost entirely gone. It doesn't have a shape anymore, so you can see that the soil has clearly been able to work on this, which is good because we're trying to demonstrate as well that the case in plastic is biodegradable as opposed to the other forms of plastic that we see being used here in our world today, mostly like the Ziploc bag or an item such as this flamingo. So that's what we see now. We're gonna put this back in and continue to monitor it over time. But if you're doing this at home, make sure you check your landfill every few weeks. You wanna see how these materials are looking after a couple weeks and what's happening to them. So this was our first check-in. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about plastic waste in our world and just how that's affecting the environment. It turns out that only about 25% of our used plastics that we throw into a recycling bin are actually getting recycled. So one thing you want to keep in mind is taking a look at your town's recycling rules and making sure that you can recycle the plastics that you have. Here in Effingham, New Hampshire, we only take numbers 1, 2, and 5 for plastics. They each have a number on the product. And so you'll be able to see, but a lot of them you can't actually recycle. So then that brings us to what's the best way to kind of combat this issue. And really that's just reducing and eliminating our plastic use. We may use a plastic product for a couple minutes, maybe a little bit longer, but it's going to be in the environment for thousands of years. So we really want to consider what our impact is when we buy plastic, because when we buy it, it's going to be produced more and more as well.